This is just a quick video to demonstrate how I knit Fair Ise, and there are a number of different ways to knit Fair Ise. So this is just the method that I use, and the way that I knit it is I have the main colour, which is the background colour, in my right hand, and I knit it English style, and then I knit Continental with the contrast colour yarn that is the dominant yarn, and that is the one that you want to have on the left. You can still do this with using both yarns in your right hand or both yarns in your left hand, but you still want the contrast colour on the left. Right, so for this particular pattern, I've got a 2 stitches of the, it's 2, 1, 2, and then a stretch of 5, and I've got to do that all the way around. So I'm just going to demonstrate as I do that. So I've just done a patch of 5, and so I'll be knitting Continental 2 stitches in my left hand. So you see that I'm knitting that continentally in the yarns in my left hand, and then I knit 1 stitch with the main colour, and then 2 Continental with the contrast colour, and then I knit 5 with the main colour. And I sort of sometimes, if it's a long stretch, I just sort of drop that. I don't completely drop that yarn in my left hand, but I just, you know, sort of let it go. It's a little bit harder as I'm demonstrating. So I've just done 5, so that's actually quite a long stretch. So I want to make sure that I've got enough, that this float is going to be long enough. But I find that's usually not so much a problem with the yarn in my left hand. I don't have to be as intentional because I'm holding the yarn in my left hand, which is just that little bit further from the work, it has a tendency to stretch a little bit more anyway. But it's the yarn that's in my right hand, because it's quite close, I have to be very intentional about making sure that I've got a bit of space there. 2 stitches isn't so bad, but if I had like 3, 4, or 5 stitches, I'd really be spreading that yarn out on my right hand. So that's 2 with my left, and then 5 with my right. What happens is if you knit this way, you're never going to have a situation where your yarns get tangled, because they stay in the same position. And so I've got 5 now. And you can see that there's not, you know, the balls don't have to switch places. I don't actually have to drop the yarn. I don't have to drop my hands, and I just can continue on. Now, one thing I will say, most knitters have one technique that is their primary technique, and for me that is knitting English style with the yarn in my right hand. So what I did to prepare myself for knitting colour work is and to get my muscle memory up with doing Continental with the yarn in my left hand, was I knit a hat, a Continental, a stocking stitch hat, aside from the brim, which was ribbing. For the rest of the hat, I knit the whole thing, which was just all stockinette in the round, and I knit it with the yarn in my left hand. So it wasn't a Fair Ise pattern. I just wanted to practice the knit stitch, and by doing that, it actually built up some muscle memory, and so that when I then switched to using it in Fair Ise, I felt more comfortable with Continental knitting. So my recommendation there is, whichever technique you're less comfortable with, maybe do one whole small project only using the yarn with that, like in that hand, in your non sort of dominant knitting style, to practice it, so that then when it comes to knitting Fair Ise, you're quite comfortable with both methods. So that's my suggestion. So I hope you found that video helpful. I'll just quickly mention as well, actually, the pattern that I'm knitting right now is Early Bloomer by Heidi Kirrmaier, and I'm using Diorarum Natura Penelope in the colourway Orgeat, and this is some leftover Madeline Tosh DK Twist in like a gradient colours.